Hello and welcome. Tonight's collection brings unsettling Reddit stories, odd encounters, eerie moments, and memories that refuse to fade. Whether you're listening before sleep or simply passing the time, these tales are here to keep you company. Let's dive in. Don't swim in my hometown's lake, don't even go near it. Two suns were shimmering on this particular day in June. The one in the sky, of course, and its twin beaming brightly back at it from the still surface of the lake. My small town thrived on this lake, especially during summer. It was the go-to local tourist destination within the county. Until recently, our fish population was one of the healthiest and most numerous in the contiguous United States. There was a factory, nestled in the surrounding woodland, that used the lake's waters as a coolant for whatever they produced. That factory employed over half of the men in the town until just 5 years ago, when it was purchased by an overseas conglomerate and forced to lay off its entire existing staff. Naturally, this move faced mass protests, but at the end of the day, there was nothing we could do. Now the factory, along with a few rows of beach houses, lay abandoned along the sandy banks. I'm sure you can tell by now that my town was past its prime. Still, we tried to hold on to our title of a landlocked Amity Island, crooked mayor and all. The day it happened, I descended on the beach in the early morning with my friends, intent on staying until sundown. By this point, it wasn't too busy, but we knew that by noon, tourists would crowd the banks like locusts. We met up in the commercial area, a zone of kiosks and picnic tables. A few families had already arrived, and small children were playing by the waterside under the watchful eye of a parent. Once we'd all shown up, our little group of mostly 12-year-olds decided that we weren't kids anymore, and that our station for the day should be where the teenagers hang out. The long, stony strip that was scattered with empty beer cans and cigarette butts. That didn't necessarily mean we were too old for a little fun by the pier, however. We crowded onto the rickety dock and raced each other to jump from the abrupt end into the clear water beneath. I decided to hang back for a bit. One eye was kept on my friends doing their best drowning impression. The other was on Everly, the hottest girl in my year. She sat alone on a flat stone jutting out from the grassy hill, not too far from the edge of the lake. I caught her eye, took a deep breath, and walked over to her. "Hey," I said. "Hi," she replied. She was nursing a quickly melting soft-serve ice cream in a cone. It had mostly liquefied and was running down her arm. "Your ice cream is melting," I pointed out dumbly. "I know," answered Everly. I glanced over at the nearby ice cream truck. "Want me to buy you another one?" I asked casually. She beamed. "Thanks," she said and smiled. I met her smile with my own, then patted my pockets. "I don't have any money," I admitted. She scrunched up her cute nose and laughed. I knew I must have done something right. Before I could continue, I heard someone call Everly's name. I turned and saw a frumpy, middle-aged woman waving her over. She stood and turned to me. "See you later," she said and dropped her ice cream on the floor. I watched her walk off and then made my way back to my friends who were only now emerging from the lake. At 13, I was the oldest and therefore the designated leader of the group. It also helped that I knew a shortcut to the Beercan Beach, as we'd started calling it. And so, it was me who led the gaggle of tweens away from the now bustling lakeside and into the woodland. We were all in good spirits, and the high we got from the prospect of months without school was more potent than any drug I've tried since. Like the rest of them, I was clad in shorts and a thick layer of sunblock that acted like a second skin. I can remember the childhood bickering and cries of wuss, and the occasional pussy directed towards the kids who didn't want to take the shortcut. Despite their protests, they still all followed me. It quickly became clear that I didn't know where I was going. We were now surrounded by trees and had somehow strayed so far away from the lake's edge that we could no longer hear the water lapping at the shore. "You got us lost, man," Tyler, my snub-nosed best friend, said, throwing his arms in the air. Everyone else stopped and waited impatiently for my rebuttal. "We're like a 2-minute walk from civilization in any direction. We're not lost," I replied snarkily and started to walk with more determination. "Some shortcut," I heard one of the other boys mutter as they all gave up in their short-lived mutiny and followed me again. Soon, the noise of small, gently crashing waves returned. The once thick tree line thinned out like my balding father, and I could once again see the lake laying just beyond our position. Any unfaithfulness my extended friend group had in my sense of direction had dried up. They followed me as we came across a large rock. "It's just beyond this rock," I shouted back at my followers. While I knelt and tied my shoelace, a few attempted to scale the mossy boulder in one jump. One of them, a ginger kid named Jeremy who had a desperately small stature even for his age, managed the ascent first. As soon as he reached the top, he screamed. "Jeremy, what's wrong?" a few of us said in something near unison. On the top of the rock, Jeremy fell to his knees. I ran over to him, as did a few others. We climbed up behind him, and as soon as we reached the top, realized what he'd been screaming about. Washed up in the miniature inlet that lay behind the rocks was a human body, a corpse, a person's remains. These were the terms that tumbled through my mind as I stared slack-jawed. As the rest of the posse crowded around me, a few had the same silent reaction I did. Some screamed. Jeremy began to cry. It wasn't long before morbid curiosity possessed me. I wasn't the only one. Me and one or two others hopped down from the boulder onto the edge of the thin semicircle inlet. Everyone was freaking out now. So was I suppose. I just had a different way of expressing it. Some tried to deny what was right in front of them, claiming it was just fake. I intended to show them what it really was. As a test of my own masculinity and maturity, I picked up a long, thick stick at my feet and walked over beside the body. I admit, I did think the theory that it was fake had some weight after I realized that despite looking severely decayed, it gave off no smell whatsoever. I poked and prodded it. With the help of my other stick-armed friend, we managed to move it partially onto its side. It looked vile. Just putrid. There wasn't a single fly or insect around it, but despite this, its face looked like it had been feasted on. The skin was slimy and white, loose adipose that clung to the bloodied skull. Its scalp was rotting away and looking like the threadbare knees of an old pair of ripped jeans. Greasy black hair, which had mostly fallen out, fell down to its shoulders. His nose was replaced with 2 leaking holes. One socket was empty. From the other dangled a useless eyeball. He, who I assumed was a man, wore green overalls smeared in dirt and other grime that came from spending who knows how long in the lake. When I poked his cheek, yellowing ooze poured out. It was real all right. When that realization dawned on me, and the other older kids inspecting the body, did the gravity of it really sink in. I was looking at a human body, a real-life dead person. I dropped my stick and swore. I couldn't fathom it, not really. My friends standing across from me shouted to the younger children to leave, to go and get help. Help, I thought, was funny wording. I looked at the corpse at my feet and thought he was long past CPR. Then it grabbed me. Its bony hand shot out like an unfurling mantis claw. It latched onto my ankle with a vice-like grip and used me to balance itself as it tried to get up. Moans escaped its hollow mouth as I screamed, as did everyone around me. I watched my friends bolt, leaving me to kick away my assailant. Finally, I broke free of his grasp. One kick shattered his remaining teeth like a dropped bijou. It stumbled back, almost falling over, but managed to catch itself. Once it was steady, it turned and looked at me with its dangling eye. I was broken out of my fear-induced trance when it lurched towards me. I turned and ran, needlessly scaling the rock behind me when I could have just ran around it. I jumped down on the other side and ran, until the pain in my ankle overwhelmed me. Once signs of life were up ahead, and a quick turn around told me that the body hadn't followed me, I stopped and inspected the source of the agony in my leg. Wrapping around my shin was a white rash in the loose shape of a handprint. Someone called my name, and my head shot up. Standing by a tree just in front of me was Tyler. Behind him, a small crowd of concerned adults were moving slowly forward. Varying levels of belief on their faces correlated to who'd been told just about the discovery of a body and who heard it had moved. Still, even the disbelievers were driven forward by parental instincts and fatherly one-upmanship. Cautiously, myself and a few other children followed the adults back towards the rock. My heart was pounding and my white rash burned like sulfur. Still, Curiosity acted like an opioid as we returned to the large standing rock. I watched as a hefty, shorthand vest-wearing dad who already had a brutal sunburn tried to discreetly walk past the rock, next to the water's edge, and take a peep at the small inlet. The rest of our band watched as he crept around the corner, then screamed, stumbled backwards, and fell into the lake. His scream caused a chain reaction of similar screeching. There was a collective freeze as we all silently waited for something, anything to happen, but nothing did. No one staggered from behind rock, and more worryingly, the man didn't get up. I noticed some of the adults looking at each other, wordlessly forming a plan. I saw that plan in motion when 3 of the equally sunburned men split off from our group and walked tentatively forward. Children were being consoled around me, but I wasn't a child. Not anymore. I was 13 for Christ's sake. I decided to follow the men. A few steps behind them, of course, but it still made me feel important. One, the taller man with, noticeably, the thickest head of hair, broke off from the pair to wander over to the man now lying face down in the shallow lake edge, calling his name reservedly as he went. I decided to follow him. He kicked off his flip-flops and took a few steps into the water, crouching down by the fallen man. I crouched too, feeling the pain in my leg flare. Looking down at my shin gave me the same nauseous feeling as gazing over the edge of an eroding cliff. I could see that where the rash had been was now soft, puffy skin that didn't look quite connected to the tissue beneath it. My own bodily worries were torn aside when the tall man screamed. His friend lurched up from the water, his skin dripping like wax. All I could hear now was people screaming. The men in the water, the 2 beachgoers behind the rock, and of course myself. I hobbled back on my bad leg as I watched the rotting man in the lake fall forward, chasing his would-be aider. At the same time, the body from the small inlet ran mangled from behind the rocks, chasing after 2 of the parents. The body's hideous shriek, I soon realized, was a plea. "Kill me. Kill me," he roared, his voice sounding like he was drowning in thick mud. Despite the bolt of pain that shot through me with every step, I found that fear suppressed most of it. As the 2 living monuments to decay gained on me, I realized I wasn't escaping, but running into more chaos. Finally, I burst from the tree line and into the commercial area. Before my eyes could even register the carnage in front of me, I smelled the blood. Its stench was overpowering, noxious. It covered the grass and led out in a trail over the stones, sand, and white-painted wooden dock until finally it mixed with the lake water. Staring at the anomaly that coated the lake, it dawned on me that I was wrong earlier. The shimmer I saw wasn't just the dazzling reflection of the sun. It was a spectral shine that reminded me of a gas station puddle. It was like a tamed rainbow, dull from years of abuse, was being held captive just below the gentle waves. Black helicopters flocked overhead as I gazed at the destruction this shimmer brought with it. Dozens of people wandering the bank aimlessly, letting out animalistic cries as their body rotted. I saw a young mother cry as she held her quickly putrefying child. They were all still alive by some dark miracle, suffering through every second of it. Not too far from me, staggering between the deserted park benches, was a rotund man with an inflatable zebra pool ring still around his waist. He tore at his own face in agony, which came away from the skull like some extreme case of degloving. This scene and similar was being repeated all around me. Men, women, and children, all bearing the same affliction. It felt like a glimpse of hell. As I stared in debilitating disbelief, something suddenly pounced on me. I was knocked to the ground, turning onto my back as I fell. As soon as I was down, my assailant dove on top of me. It was the body from the inlet. Now more of a skeleton, with the bare minimum amount of muscle and nerve tissue keeping him moving. He couldn't scream, couldn't speak. His larynx had dissolved from the looks of his neck. The remnants of his face were now inches from mine and dripping a foul gunk onto me. His jawbones swung open in an attempt to communicate. As it did, my hand finally felt what it had been searching for. I swung it around, bringing the stone down on the decomposing man's head. It splintered on impact, and he fell limp, slumping on top of me. With a heave, I pushed him off. His wasted body left a snail trail of flesh behind it. I didn't want to think of what was now coating my clothes. I stood and brushed bits of bone and sinew from me. Now firmly dead, the man had no bodily functions left to fight against the rot. And so, his corpse, which had curled up like a dead spider, had begun to liquefy. Soon, he was a puddle on the grass among a once white shirt and rubber waders. After what felt like years suspended in shock, I felt agency return when I saw Tyler being attacked by one of the rotters. Bloodied rock in hand, I began to run to his side, but stopped when I realized the decaying mass assaulting him was his mother. I stopped just a few yards away. For me, seeing someone I knew in that state was traumatizing. I couldn't fathom what it was like for Tyler. The distressed Tyler and his mother crumpled to the floor. His hands were around her putrid neck, trying to push her away. Even from where I was standing, I could see that she was crying. It was clear to me that she wasn't attacking him, rather she was trying to hug her son. I didn't know if Tyler had realized that yet, but I couldn't bear watching them any longer. Call me a coward, but I turned and ran. My bad leg carried me only a few steps further until I collapsed against a picnic table. I fell to my knees and crawled under the wooden shelter, curling up into a ball. Finally, I grimaced and looked at my wound. The puffy dead skin had rotten away, leaving a mass of bodily slime, yellow beads of fat and sinew. My milk-white shin bone poked proudly through the tissue. I whimpered when I saw the damage. The pain was already too much to bear, and it was only getting worse. My eyes were welded shut as I wept into my shoulder. When I opened them again, I wanted it to all be over. I wanted to be sitting bolt upright in bed, and for all this to have just been a terrible nightmare. I wanted the pain to stop, and when I felt an arm grab that back of my neck, I thought it soon would, just not in the way I hoped. I was dragged on my back out from under the picnic table. Staring from the grass up, I saw that my attacker wasn't one of the victims of decay, but a person in a formless black hazmat suit. I heard a muffled swear come from his rectangular helmet when, I assumed, he noticed my wound. The long metal cylinder he held in both hands shook with indecision. I watched as he looked up from me and around. I followed his gaze and saw his coworkers swarming the wharf, torching any rotting screamers they came across with the bulky flamethrowers hanging from their suits. I looked up at the man towering above me in fright. Once again, his attention turned to me. The last thing I saw was him raising his weapon. I woke up in a hospital bed an unknowable amount of time later. As soon as I opened my eyes, my mother, who'd been sitting in the chair at the edge of my bed, sprang up and wrapped me in one of her affirming hugs, careful not to yank any of the tubes that ran in and out of me. A nurse soon appeared, beckoned by some hidden medical alarm. She first warned my mother that I was still in a fragile state. Then, she began to read a set of questions from her clipboard. I answered truthfully, explaining that other than a full bladder and a dull ache in my thigh, I wasn't in any discomfort. She then handed me her clipboard and a pen, instructed me to read through the terms and sign a now broken non-disclosure agreement. Seeing no reason why I shouldn't, I of course signed my name. If I'm being completely honest, which this post has been up until now, I thought it was something to do with the patient confidentiality thing I'd heard about in a medical drama. She took the page back and smiled stiffly. My ears felt like they were filling up with wax after hearing what she said next. I looked at my mother, who began to weep. I didn't believe the nurse and swung back my blanket to triumphantly prove her wrong. My right leg had been amputated from well above the knee. The next hour was occupied with my mother and a new nurse trying to calm me down. This'll be 15 years ago this summer. I don't live in my hometown anymore. No one does, not really. It wasn't just the lake that was affected. Anyone who drank tap water in that same frame met a similar fate to the people who'd been out swimming. I still don't fully know what happened. I have my theories, of course, but knew better than to voice them. Anytime I think about it, the black van parked across the street from my house would make me think otherwise. Until now. You see, since I started writing out my account, I've heard banging from my front door. And oh God, I think I just heard it being broken down. Please, anyone who reads this, get my story out. Overprotective. When I was in middle school, I didn't have a lot of friends. It didn't make me sad though, lonely. but not sad. I would walk home every day reading a book, and I was content. My walk home was short. I had already been doing it for 2 years at that point, and I was a teen. A whole 13 years old, and obviously I thought I knew everything. I was passing by the park one day, engrossed in a story about a magical world behind a wardrobe, when I wanted to stop to finish the section I was reading. I crossed into the park instead of around it and plopped down on a bench. "Oh look, Abby finally made a friend and they're travel-sized." A girl's voice squealed. I looked up, and Darcy, the most popular girl in my school, was standing with her group of friends laughing at me. "How's the book, Flabby? Maybe you'll find a different book to be your boyfriend," she continued, earning a high five from the girl on her right. My eyes burned as I felt stares on me, but I just put the book up to cover my face and tried my best to block them out. After about 5 minutes of me ignoring them, they left. As I read pages and pages, the sounds and squeals from the playground slowly went away. I hardly noticed, though. I was actually glad for the quiet. "Are you lost?" a voice asked me. I dropped my book, startled, before looking up to see a boy standing before me. I had never seen him before, but he seemed a little older than me. I was sure we probably went to the same school, though. Maybe he was on the football team, and I didn't go to those games. I was still staring as he adjusted his baseball bag to his other shoulder. "No, I'm not lost. I'm just taking a break. I live over there," I said, gesturing in the general direction of my house. The boy followed my hand and nodded. "It's pretty dark, you should go home," he said softly. I looked at the sky and gasped. The streetlights were on. How long had I been lost in the story? "What time is it?" I asked. "It's almost 8, the boy responded. "Oh no, you're right." "I'm going to be in trouble," I said quickly, standing up and putting my things away. "Do you want me to walk you?" the boy had asked. "Oh no, it's just my brother home right now. He goes to the high school. He will be upset if he sees me with a boy." "Even if he's just a friend? Thank you though, what's your name?" I asked, standing up to meet his gaze. "Ethan," he replied. "Nice to meet you, Ethan, I'm Abby." "See you," I said, turning around to dash to my house. "Your brother seems annoying," Ethan called after me. "Not annoying, just overprotective," I called back. As I was walking across the grass to the sidewalk, I saw Darcy across the field. She was sitting on a bench, hunched over a cell phone. She looked like she had changed out of her clothes she wore that day and was wearing something my brother's girlfriend would likely wear. A light blue strapless dress that looked super short. I debated calling out to her, asking if she needed something, but I thought better of it and continued home. Lucky for me, that night I made it home before my brother got home from being with his friends, but not by much. The next morning, my mom was on the phone with our neighbor. "Oh, how awful, Susan. It just isn't safe anywhere," she had sighed into the phone. I furrowed my brows together and watched her as I shoveled Lucky Charms into my mouth. Okay, yes, keep me posted," my mom said and then hung up. "Mom," I asked. She stared at the phone on the wall for a moment before she crossed to me and sat at the kitchen table. She reached out and held my hand. "Sweetie, do you know a Darcy in your grade?" she asked gently. I nodded. "She's popular, so we aren't friends, but I know her. Why?" I responded. "Darcy didn't come home last night. Her parents are calling around. They said she always stops at the park before coming home. Did you see her there yesterday when you passed it?" my mother pressed. I mumbled. How could I admit that I did see Darcy there and not get in trouble for being there so late? Should I tell her about Ethan? And be in trouble for 2 things? I really didn't want my parents to be mad at me. I saw her there after school. I stopped there and read for a little bit. When I left, she was still there, I said, playing with the drawstrings on my jacket. My mom watched me nodding. "And what time was that?" she asked. School was out at 3:30, so I think 4, I mumbled. It wasn't a total lie. My mom nodded again. "Okay, thank you, baby. We're just trying to make a timeline of where she was. If you hear anything at school, make sure to tell your teacher or me," she said seriously, before kissing me on the head and walking into the living room. I exhaled a long breath. Right before I left, my mom came back in with a new cell phone for me. "Wow, is this mine?" I asked excitedly. "Yes, but it's just for emergencies." You have my number, Dad's, and your brother's. There's also a tracker on it. I've been saving it for your birthday, but... You're getting it now, she told me, shifting her eyes away. I still hugged her and said thank you, and she hugged me back tightly. I hope Darcy is at school. Darcy wasn't there. There was an assembly held to talk about her, and to ask that if anyone knew anything, to please come forward. My heart was beating so fast, I was convinced someone else could hear it. After school, I took the same walk through the park. Abby. Hey, a voice called behind me. I turned and saw Ethan jogging up to meet me. Ethan. Hey, I said shyly. The only boys I had ever talked to were related to me. I wasn't sure how to do this. Hey, so how much trouble did you get in? He asked. Oh, none actually. My brother was at a play at the high school, so I made it home before he did. I explained. Oh wow, Lucky, I get in trouble if I'm even 5 minutes late, he said, laughing. Oh, right. Well, did you get in trouble last night for being in the park so late? I asked. He shook his head. No, I was at baseball practice and was walking home when I saw you. They knew about that, he told me. Did you see a girl in the park last night? I asked him. He looked at me confused. I saw. You, if that's what you mean? He responded. No, besides me. There's a girl in our class who went missing, and I think I saw her here last night. And now she's gone. I explained. Ethan nodded and looked around the park. I don't remember seeing anyone else, but I will ask around. What is her name? He asked. Darcy, she has blonde hair, and I think she was wearing blue last night. I told him. Yeah, I'll ask around, he said, smiling at me. I was squinting at him. I didn't think he went to my school. What school do you go to? I asked. I go to the high school. I'm a freshman this year. Are you in middle school? He asked. I nodded. 7th grade, I told him. He nodded and smiled. Do you want me to walk you home? He asked. Sure, I responded. After Darcy went missing, I was anxious about walking home alone. We walked the short distance to my house, laughing and talking. Now that I felt more relaxed, I noticed just how cute Ethan was. He was cute in a grown-up way, in a way where I felt very self-conscious around him. He seemed to like me though, even though I was weird, and he hugged me before I disappeared into my house. He smelled like Axe body spray and Irish Spring. I'm never washing this shirt again, I whispered. A week went by and no news about Darcy. Ethan walked me home every day. He said I needed someone looking out for me, and I felt like a princess with her knight accompanying her. He would walk me to the house next door, reminded me about my brother not seeing us, and waited for me to make it into my house. He even gave me his phone number and would text me good night every night. My brother, Derek, had noticed my shift in mood. What are you smiling about, dork? He asked with chips in his mouth. Ethan had just sent what I think was a flirty message. 2 years is nothing. When I'm 30, you'll be 28, and by that point we might be married. I will build you your own library in our house. OMG. Nothing, I said, smiling. Derek shrugged and returned to his own phone. Do you know an Ethan? I asked him. Ethan what? He responded, not looking up from his phone. Oh, I don't know his last name, but he's on the baseball team. He's tall and has light brown hair and freckles. I gushed. Derek shook his head, still engulfed in his social media. There's not an Ethan on baseball, he responded. But, yes he is, he has a baseball bag. I argued. Derek's head shoots up. Have you talked to this guy? Why are you talking to a guy in high school anyways? He demanded. Oh, I'm not, I just saw him at the park and talked to him for a second. He just seemed nice, that's all, I said quickly. Derek looked at me for a long moment and shook his head. Don't talk to high school guys, Abs. They only want one thing. Okay, he asked. I nodded. He turned back to his phone and I got up to go to my room. My heart was thumping. That was too close. As I crossed behind Derek, I saw he was searching for an Ethan on social media. I continued texting Ethan in my room. I was just starting to get ready for bed when his name popped up on a call. Oh my God, I whisper shouted. I took a few deep breaths before answering the call. Hello, I asked. Hey, gorgeous, his smooth voice responded. I could feel myself physically swooning. I laughed like a maniac and then took another deep breath. What are you up to? I asked. I am just finishing up at practice, and I was thinking maybe we should meet up, he responded. Like, right now? I asked. He laughed softly. Yeah, we never get time really alone when I walk you home, he explained. My heart flipped. Well, do we need to be alone? I asked, laughing awkwardly. Well, if I want to feel like I can kiss you without your brother seeing, he chuckled, double flip. Oh. Oh, well, I don't know about tonight. Derek is downstairs and he will see me if I leave. I stammered. Go out your window, Ethan offered. I looked at my window with the unicorn curtains hung over them. I don't know, I mumbled. Well, how can you be my girlfriend if you won't come and see me? Ethan asked. Girlfriend, triple flip. Okay, I'll come, but just for a little bit, I said. I'll meet you at the park, see you soon, Ethan said cheerfully. When we hung up, I jumped in a circle in my room. He called me his girlfriend, and he wanted to give me my first kiss? I couldn't believe I wasn't just floating off the ground. I quickly changed into a cuter outfit and glossed up with a cherry lip smackers. Luckily, my window was very easy to get out of. Derek wouldn't check on me, but just in case he did, I turned the light off and shoved some pillows in my bed. I didn't realize how fast I was walking, and I made it to the park in record time. Ethan was waiting for me on a bench. He was texting on his phone when I walked up, but smiled when he saw me and slid his phone back into his pocket. Hey, he said softly, wrapping me in a hug. I giggled and hugged him back. It really was a perfect night. The moon was large in the sky, and the stars were twinkling like they were encouraging us. Should we sit? I asked, gesturing to the bench. Ethan shook his head. Nah, come on, I have a better idea, he said, taking my hand and leading me across the grass to the small parking lot. Where are we going? I asked. I have my mom's car tonight. I thought we could drive around. Maybe go get food, maybe something else, he said, winking at me. Ethan. I don't know, you're only 15, you don't have a license, I protested. He waved me off. I drive all the time, I promise I'm great, he said, just as we made it to the dark red sedan. He opened my door for me. Milady, he said, bowing. I looked at the backseat through the window. It was empty, except for a blue shirt laying on the seat. Where is your baseball stuff? I asked. He blinked slowly and looked at me. What? He asked. Your baseball stuff? Wouldn't you have it with you if you just left practice? I asked, tilting my head. Oh. I must have left it there in the locker room. My bad, he responded. I was quiet for a few moments, and I could feel this weird feeling creeping up my stomach. I really shouldn't. Can we just take a walk around the park? I asked. Don't be silly, we won't be gone long. Just get in the car, he said, smiling his familiar smile. I mumbled, looking over my shoulder at my neighborhood. I don't think so, Ethan. I'm going to go home. Maybe another time, I offered. I didn't want him to be mad at me, but I didn't want to be gone so long that Derek noticed. Abby, Ethan said, laughing softly. I stay still. Get in the car, please, he said, but it was different this time. He sounded angry. Just then, my phone had begun to ring. When I pulled it out, Derek's name flashed on the screen. Crap, I whispered, it's Derek. I think he knows I left. I really have to go. No, I mean. Just get in the car, I'll drive you home, Ethan said quickly, like he was panicking. My phone rings again. Why do you want me to get in your car so badly? I asked. Just please, get in, Ethan demanded. No, I yelled. Damn it, Darcy, get in the car, Ethan yelled back. I froze. Once Ethan realized what he said, his eyes widened. Oh my God, I whispered. The rest of Ethan's clever mask shattered, and he lunged for me. I was able to dive out of the way, landing in the grass, before pushing myself up to my feet as I began to run. I could feel Ethan right behind me, yelling, and his hands just narrowly missing me. I saw red and blue lights flashing towards the park. Help, I yelled, waving my arms. Shut up, Ethan screamed. I crossed the grassy field as the police cars pulled around the park. Help me. Please, I screamed. No, Ethan yelled. The police were still far, but I could see them start to get out of their cars. I ran as fast as I could, sobbing and trying to go even faster. Hey, a voice bellowed to the side of us. Ethan and I both turned our heads as a dark figure tackled Ethan to the ground at full speed. It was still so dark, I saw two figures rolling around the grass, not stopping until a loud crack sounded and Ethan screamed in pain. The police were around us then, as the dark figure stood and turned to me. "Derek," I sobbed. He rushed to me and enveloped me in a hug. I cried into him while the police handcuffed Ethan, yanking him to his feet as he screamed and complained about his apparently broken wrist. "How did you know where I was?" I asked. Derek took out his phone and pointed to the tracking app my mom had installed on our phones. The one time I've ever been grateful for my mom's overprotectiveness. "You were right," I said, putting my face in my hands. "High school boys are awful." Derek was quiet, so I uncovered my eyes and peered at him. He opened his mouth to speak, but closed it immediately as a police officer approached us. "Hey kids, are you okay, both of you?" she asked. Derek and I nodded. "Okay, great, your parents are on the way. But we wanted to ask you some questions. Abby, is it?" she asked. I nodded. I didn't know he was mean. I just met him recently, and I liked the idea of dating a high schooler. "I know that sounds stupid," I mumble. The officer smiles at me sympathetically. "Sweetie, Ethan isn't in high school," she told me. "What?" I asked, as I heard Derek take a deep breath behind me. "Ethan isn't even his real name, and he's 25. I know he looks young, but..." She looked over her shoulder to where Ethan was being hauled into a cop car. "Then why would he say he was?" I asked, genuinely confused. "We think he was taking girls your age. We are going to check him out. See where he lives. But you had a classmate named Darcy go missing recently, correct?" she continued. I nodded. "Did he say anything about her?" she asked. "He called me her name on accident," I replied. The officer nodded again and radioed something to someone else while stepping away. Just then, my parents came running across the street. My mom was crying, and my dad looked like he was going to tackle someone. Derek happily informed him that he already took care of that part. We got cleared to go home, and as we crossed the street, I met eyes with Ethan as he pulled away in the police car. I looked away quickly as Derek put his arm around me and flipped the car off. I wasn't in trouble, but sorry, Patrick sure was. He retained his innocence up until trial. But the bodies the police found in his backyard turned his arguments into silence. They speculated he had taken over a dozen girls, but only 5 were discovered. Unfortunately, Darcy was never found. I think my new friend is becoming all my other friends. This started a few months ago, but the ending happened last night. I'm still shaking as I type this. I don't know if anyone will believe me. Maybe I don't care. Maybe I just want someone to know. It started when I met her. Her name was Mia, quiet girl. Transfer student, pale skin, long black hair, big dark eyes that always looked just a little too wide, like she didn't blink enough. She sat next to me in English, and one day after class, she asked if I liked horror books. I said yeah. That was our first conversation. She started following me around after that. Always just there when I turned around, always smiling. I didn't mind at first. I thought maybe she was just lonely or awkward. She was nice. Too nice, honestly. Always remembered tiny things I said, laughed too hard at my jokes, looked at me the whole time, never the group. Then my friend Marcus went missing. We'd hung out just 2 nights before, played Call of Duty at his house. Next morning, he was just gone. His parents filed a report. The whole school was buzzing, but Mia, she didn't react. Just asked me if I wanted to hang out more now that Marcus wasn't around to distract me. I laughed awkwardly. She didn't. Then there was Lily. My childhood friend. She invited me to the arcade Friday night. I went. She didn't show up. Next morning, missing. Gone like Marcus. That's when I noticed something that made my blood go cold. Mia started wearing the same hair clips Lily used to wear. Not similar, the same, green star-shaped ones. She'd never worn them before. I asked her where she got them, and she just smiled and said, "Guess we have the same taste." She also started using words Marcus used, slang he made up. She even mimicked his walk. When I pointed it out, she just giggled and said, "I learn fast. I like being close to people." People kept disappearing. 2 more friends, and each time Mia got weirder, closer, more like them. like she was collecting their pieces and stitching them onto herself. I stopped replying to her messages. I started going straight home. I was terrified to even look at her, but somehow she always knew where I was, always knew what I was doing. Then last night happened. I was in bed, half asleep, feverish. I'd been feeling sick all day. Something in my gut just said, don't fall asleep, keep the light on. But I must have dozed off, because I woke up to the sound of breathing, not mine. I opened my eyes. She was there, Mia, standing inches from my bed. But it wasn't just Mia. Her face was wrong, like all the faces of my friends had been melted together and stretched into something inhuman. Her skin bubbled and twitched like it was trying to settle on one shape but couldn't decide. I saw Marcus's smile, Lily's eyes, someone else's nose. It was like a slideshow of the dead flickering in front of me. She leaned down. I couldn't move. Then, right next to my ear, she whispered, "Why are you terrified? Your mind now, aren't you happy?" I screamed. My mom came running. The room was empty. She thinks I had a fever dream. Maybe I did, but the window was open. And on my desk, where I swear I left my headphones, was a green star-shaped hair clip. Those were tonight's stories. Like and subscribe if you'd like to hear more, and share in the comments which one you'll be thinking about later tonight. Until we meet again, stay safe and stay wary of the shadows.